Bird, 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 bird. Yeah! Ron Babe was right. Ron Babe was right.
I'm feeling spry. Hey, everybody. You know who it is, and you know what podcast it is. So we're going to start right off the bat. We're going to start off with, the only way this thing gets produced and keeps me going is with my sponsors. And we have a new sponsor. And don't think, oh, my God, Ron, the intros, they're going to get longer. No, I'm going to dial this in eventually. So I always have to thank my title sponsor, Onyx, first and foremost. They sponsor the podcast. They sponsor the Upland Institute with the Elite program, the Onyx Elite. In fact, I believe the 26th of July, you're going to get Justin and me back on a webinar. Yeah, we're going to talk about anything you want to talk about, preseason, getting ready for bird hunting, last season, problems you had, problems you didn't have. Well, actually, don't write us if you didn't have any problems, because then we wouldn't be able to solve those problems. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. Onyx does everything for us, and they do everything for this podcast to bring it to you. But one of the neatest tie-ins to Onyx is my new sponsor, 4-Wheel Campers. And I know anybody east of the Mississippi is going to go, well, huh? What? This place has been around since 1972, and they make these pickup truck insert campers. Not the kind that went down with turnbuckles and weighed 8,000 pounds. These are ultralight aluminum with a pop-up tent on top, not an angle, not a little A-frame. No, a true. It's so cool. Well, they came out with the Model M. I want you to look that up. Go to 4-Wheel Campers, and God knows I'm not going to say .com, because if you don't know it's .com, you're not ready to listen to podcasts. Anyway, go to 4-Wheel Campers, look up the Model M. They are setting me up. I've got to go. I'm going because of the time constraints and the production restraints. I'm heading to Sacramento, California. I'm going to be doing podcasts on the way there and on the way back. I'm going to end up right back in North Dakota for my hunting season. I'm going to maybe hunt in California. I'm going to maybe hunt in, I got to stop in Montana on the way back as well. I am done with the Red Roof Inn and the mom and pop motels. I am a completely self-contained, off-the-grid, solar panel, power inverted hunter, thanks to 4-Wheel Campers. Check them out. You're going to hear a lot more and see a lot more about that in days to come. What I'll be wearing on my way out there. I don't usually wear shorts when I'm driving. I don't know why. I just don't know what weather you're going to be in, right? But I'll be wearing my Pike Gear Kiowa. In fact, I'm going to wear the new color. I am so glad Brent came out with a new color. And not because there's anything wrong with gray. It's because that's all I got is gray. So, that way I look like I change clothes once a month at least. Anyway, check out Pike Gear's lineup. They got some T-shirts. They've got some new stuff. They brought back some J. Dowd designs. J. Dowd is that infamous grouse hunting artist from Michigan. Check out everything at Pike Gear. And while you're there, check out those new Kiowa pants. They are the perfect summer, early season pair of pants to put on your legs. Yeah, I'll say that. Shotgun shells. What do you use for shotgun shells? Are you shooting on tocks at all, or do you just shoot at if you're brand new to the podcast, okay, I understand. You don't know much about nothing. But if you don't know the Boss shot shells, right here from good old Michigan, makes the best and only copper-plated bismuth shot shell. If you don't know that, well, go to their website. Look up Boss Shot Shells .something. You know what I'm saying. And when you get something out of the air and into the bag and into your cooler and cleaned up and plucked or skinned or however you do it, you go to Walton's, get their catalog, get their spices. If you get enough birds, or if you're one of us bird hunters that or one of you bird hunters that also do some big game hunting, you're going to love everything in the Walton's catalogs, from their grinders, their stuffers, their vacuum seals. It's an industrial kitchen company. It really is an industrial butcher and kitchen company that went rogue, and they supply us, just the regular people. No wholesale license. No, you don't have to be a company. You go to Walton's, you get their catalog. It's like Christmas shopping all year long. I got so much. I don't know. It's terrible. Sometimes those things are. Well, it's, yeah. Well, what we're trying to do is trying to get you to get the catalog, and you'll become a Walton's fan for life. Gunner Kennels. I know most of you who've been listening to the show are already Gunner Kennels fans. Everywhere I go, I run into you, and guess what? I see Gunner Kennels in your truck, so I know the message is out. They've got food crates. They've got fans for. They got internal water containers that are so cool for the door of the crate that pops out, so you don't have to leave it in there. But if it's warm out, you leave this little bowl on the inside, and it's made to lock right into the door, and you could fill it from the outside. So even if you went back by the truck, you're like, oh, I don't want to let the dog out, because I know most dogs, if you open the door, they're like, oh, we're going hunting again. No. Leave the door closed, open the front spout, and you can refill the water from the outside of the door. That's genius. And I was supposed to get their new product, and so I'm not allowed to tell you what it is. They got a new item coming out with the whole lineup, everything else besides their winter gear and the mats and the orthopedic mats. They've got everything you need for your dog, just like Garmin has everything you need for around your dog's neck. When I say neck, I don't mean waist. I know some of you do this. I don't know why. And I don't think it's on the box when you buy it from Garmin. Do not tie this around your dog's waist. But anyway, what you want around your dog's neck is Garmin. That's all there is. I don't care what model Garmin you get, you are not going to be unhappy with it. Absolutely not going to be unhappy with it. And you'll never be unhappy with going to Double U Supply, DOUBLE, the letter U, Hunting Supply. They are the biggest collar dealer for Garmin. Now, you'd say, oh, that's not true, Ron. I know other companies. No, because they serve so many hound hunters. And I mean hound hunters from all over the country. They won't go anywhere else but W, because they know that they need stuff that can be serviced, replaced, mailed out in the middle of the night, Pony Express delivered. They'll put one in a bottle and send it across the ocean to you. Whatever it takes, W will take care of you. Just like Purina Pro Plan takes care of your dog's stomach, nutrition, mental health, physical health. You give them the exercise, and Purina will give them the rest. And if you want to do a little bit more for your dog, I would look at Canine Athlete products. They are brought to you by Wilderness Athlete, and that company was formed from a company who made excellent products for the athlete, the hiker, the hunter, the person who gets out there and hits it hard. And Floyd, who owns the company, said, I want you scientists to make some stuff for my dogs. And they did. New Dog, Hydrate and Recover, probiotics. My dogs love it. I just had Itty the other day, one of my Broccos, one of my Brocco ladies. And she just wasn't eating. All of a sudden, she's just like, yeah. I'm like, wonder what's going on. I wonder if her stomach's upset. So, I'm not going to run to the vet. I'm not like, oh my God, my dog broke a toenail. But I put some Canine Pro on there for about 3-4 days. And I kind of just, not a lot. It's a teeny little scoop. It looks like a thimble. And it's got a little liver flavor to it, picked up her appetite, and I think settled down what was ever going on in her stomach. Because I'll tell you the truth, my dogs eat a lot of weeds and sticks out here in the woods. So she probably just got into too much, I don't know, ragweed or something. I love their stuff. You love their stuff. What you really love, besides this episode and the new Behind the Dog series coming out, is the Upland Institute. I just had Justin back in last Friday. That was 2 days ago from when I'm dropping this episode. And we finished up on our discussion, and we got into a whole bunch of topics, right down to that classic debate, sit. Why not? Why don't we teach our dogs? I teach my dogs to sit. Some people do. Some people don't. I'm telling you what, Justin puts clarity on that command, like he puts clarity on everything in the Upland Institute. So if that episode is going to come out next Sunday, You don't want to miss that. You don't. What does Clay say? I really don't think you're going to want to miss that one. I don't think you want to miss any of them, but that one's going to be special. This episode is with my buddy Trent Hardy. We talked about the making of the film we did about his dog Whiskey, and some of the trials and tribulations and some of the real life hunting scenarios that come up. And if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, go to Instagram or just go to behindthedogfilms.com. That's Behind the Dog Films. For $4.99, you will be educated and entertained beyond your comprehension level. Well, maybe not comprehension level. Beyond your expectations, okay? This is the second one in our series. We've got a lot of new ones going to be coming up. We're going to try to get one of these a month out there. And it's the price of one craft beer at a bar. Learn something. And I'm telling you what, if you are in the versatile dog world and you're new at this and you got that dog or you've had that dog that didn't want to swim for test day, was it too early? Was it too young? Was it the genes? Was it you? What did you do wrong? We break it down. And I'll tell you what, I don't believe, and I know some good friends of mine that would tell me to go stuff it. I don't believe there's a good hunting dog on this planet that shouldn't do the same kind of work in the water as it does on land. And I don't mean, search. I'm not talking about a 2-hour hunt in the water. I'm talking about his performance level on water work should equal his performance level in the field. And a dog that doesn't swim is as ridiculous to me as a dog that doesn't retrieve. Honest to God. And I know there's a few of both. Anyway, I hope you liked that episode. I hope you liked the Behind the Dogs film. That's hard to say. BehindTheDogFilms.com. You'll see it on Instagram. Click it, watch it. That's just a trailer. And then hit the buy button. We don't have a subscription service. If you don't like that episode, if it doesn't suit your needs, don't worry about it. The next month, there'll be another episode coming out of something you will find interesting. And everybody has found the first one extremely interesting and educational, and this one is going to be probably more educational than interesting, meaning I'm not being silly and I'm not trying to make a joke. We are trying to help people develop their dogs into good water dogs. Every dog should be a good water dog. God, I think I did it all, other than the HDP store. Oh, and my patrons, of course. Thank you, everybody who's a patron. I think we're scheduled for a Zoom room this Thursday. So if you're new to Zoom, and I know I've just got a passel of new Patreon members, and I've got some extra content coming out for them. I'm taking Zuka through her hold and carry process, and I'm going to start filming that, and that's going to be on Patreon. And the Zoom rooms every 3 weeks, or I don't want to say twice a month, once a month, but usually every 3 weeks. We get together, we problem solve, we laugh, we drink, we smoke, we do everything, and we have a great community. So join the community, join Patreon. Go to Patreon, Patreon, and I think you / Hunting Dog Podcast, or just Google it. You'll figure it out. All right, you know what I also vowed? I'm not going to say, hey, everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast.
Say that twice every time?
I'm not going to say that anymore.
Okay.
So I didn't say it.
All right.
In the kennel with me is Trent Hardy, and Trent's a buddy of mine. We've known each other for a few years, been on some hunting trips together, and he's been on the podcast with his wife, Heather, a few times. Just like if I had a son-in-law, I wish it was Trent. Although I'd like one that was shorter that I could still kick his ass like my other 3 son-in-laws. I don't think I could do that with you.
Yeah, you got to get a ladder.
I would have to get a ladder to kick your ass. But anyway, so when did we start filming? Like, I can't even remember. Was it a year and a half ago we started filming Whiskey in the water?
At this point, almost 2 years. It was 2 years almost exactly, because he's 2.5 now. Okay. And he was like getting ready, starting 4, 5, 6 months old when we started doing this.
How old was he when we went over to by the lake by Justin's when we did that first little piece of filming?
He was only like 4 or 5 months.
That's all he was.
Yeah.
So where this is going, obviously you're listening to this on Sunday, and tomorrow basically I'd call it the journey of getting your dog ready for its water part of the test. But the fact, even if you couldn't have got signed up for a test, your plans for that dog, being a Pudelpointer especially, were to duck hunt with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I went with a Pudelpointer route. Yeah.
We could blame Bob Ferris for that because he talks about the first one he trained swam the Snake River in winter, right?
Yeah.
And from then forth, every Pudelpointer is supposed to be a water, St. John's water
That's
spaniel.
their claim to fame, you know, and they do. They mostly all do. But yeah, that was the big draw for me was the Pudelpointer was the water part and the duck hunting part because we're 50 when the duck hunting is good around here, it's not always good.
Yeah.
But when it is good, I can be 50-50 waterfowl to upland.
Yeah, you do quite a bit. You do quite a bit of duck hunting.
Yeah.
And goose hunting too, but duck hunting specifically because of the water retrieving.
Yep.
So when you had this pup, and I know we talked about it when people watch Behind a Dog, we kind of explained why you bought the dog, but I kind of wanted to go into a little bit like at what point did you, before we started filming, did you try whiskey in the water before that? Because I don't remember that.
I don't think so, because it was so early in the year. Because he was born.
Was spring, and
he was born in December.
Cold.
He's a Christmas dog. He was born on Christmas Day, and so as early as what's reasonable to get a dog in water.
Maybe around here,
April-ish.
May.
That's about what it was. And he was the right age and had the right mindset to get in the water. So it just worked out to be he was fairly young, and it was the right time of year to start trying and getting him acclimated to it.
And you'd have done that no matter what.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you were planning on it. But I always wonder, because as many dogs as I've judged, I remember a test one time. It was in Ohio. There was 10 puppies, which is a max test, and 5 of them would not put a foot in the water. And,
that's crazy.
And you're thinking, a lot of them will do what Whiskey did the first time. They'll walk in a little bit, and they'll whimper, and they'll want to get the bumper and everything.
Bite the water.
I saw 5 dogs that literally, and back in the day, we'd throw bumpers and more bumpers and more. So 7, 8, 9 bumpers.
Never used a bird or didn't go to the bird.
You got to do that first before we tell them.
Yep.
And then I remember it ate up almost 2 hours of the test day because each dog had so many failed attempts and then had to come back for the bird.
Yep.
And I remember that being like a turning point. We're somehow getting a bunch of dogs out there that traditionally are known for being pretty high desire, and water's just another terrain to them. Mm-hmm. And then, a consistent amount of dogs I've seen judging are apprehensive about water. And then you wonder, did you think it was his age at all, or did you?
When we started,
yeah,
it was his age. He was really young, and obviously the first time when you see on there, it was very, very windy. We had some little bit of crashing waves and stuff, so that adds another little aspect of a wave hitting you
to a puppy's vision
in the face and being splashed and stuff. So like that, our first time doing that, it was pretty reasonable what he did. I wasn't expecting a whole lot,
right?
But yeah, that was fine what he did that first time. But yeah, I was gonna put him in the water
because he wasn't on the shore.
No,
he was.
He was going in.
He was trying.
Yeah. He was gonna. It looked like he was gonna do it eventually, but you want content and you want to show what can happen from A to Z, and he pretty much gave us everything.
Yeah, he gave us everything. Like if he would have on his second or third pond or lake we went to, if he'd have just done it, I'm like, we need another dog.
Another dog, yeah.
And that's where I've always wondered, and I have no idea, because you can't do a beta test even on puppies in the same litter because they're all a little different. Let's just say you weren't going to test that dog, and let's say you didn't go camping with Heather till August.
Yeah.
He might have went right into a body of water with you, but we'll never know.
No, you won't.
No,
and we were just at the beach yesterday. My sister has, on Lake Michigan, my sister has a Doberman, and it's I don't know, he's only 3-4 months old. He's not old, and he was walking into the waves, not swimming, of course, and it was good sized waves on Lake Michigan.
Right.
He was like walking in it and stuff. And, I looked at that and I'm like, well, that's a freaking Doberman. And he's not that scared of it.
Right.
But of course, getting, going all the way of him swimming through weeds and cattails and searching for a duck and breaking ice in the fall.
No one's going to recommend Doberman.
No. So that dog may or may not swim. But, when I looked at that dog like going in the water, I'm like, well, if that dog can do it, pretty much any dog can. But it didn't go all the way in. So there's a long journey.
Well, and my wife's corgis, they'll go in that little pond in my backyard. And out of the 3 corgis she's had, 2 of them go out there. They look like a big otter with them short little legs.
Yeah.
And we didn't do any water introduction to them.
Yeah, and lab guys would probably laugh. Like, what do you got to do water intro for?
Why does this important? But I still think a lot of it is the age of the dog, but you just don't know the dog's disposition. Like, was there something at home? Did you notice, like, somebody came over and he was a little this, little that? But then nobody takes it, like, I'm not the guy that writes a journal every day about my puppy's life. Like, Monday, he ate, had a good poop. You know, I don't tend to remember that stuff. I just have expectations, like, of every dog I've owned.
Yeah, and pretty much every versatile dog breed out there should be able to swim. Obviously, some are more apt than others, so it's going to be a little longer journey or a little more work to get them in there, but they all should, and it should.
Yeah, and if you go hunting, it doesn't happen that often. It doesn't happen that often grouse hunting, obviously.
No.
But I've hunted in Iowa with a lot of waterways and ditches.
Pheasants.
Pheasant. I've hunted on the Missouri River in South Dakota, and had a pheasant blowout over the river. And that dog. I mean, I wasn't going out in the Missouri River.
Yeah.
I can't swim.
Yeah.
Okay. and Haskell literally jumped off that cutout bank and went and got. So to me, it's like, even if you're not testing a dog, and you have a hunting dog,
even if you're not going to duck hunt per se,
even if you just want to have something to do with it in the summertime.
Yeah, because it's a great way to burn energy and get them some exercise. Is the water in the summertime when it's we woke up this morning, it's 80 degrees and it's almost 90 now. Yeah. So that's the best way to get some good exercise in the heat of the summer.
And then most of us, I don't know if most is the right word, but a good percentage of, when we say versatile dog, it's every pointing dog in the country. It's just a matter if you want to push it to its versatility. Every one of those, like when we went to North Dakota the year before you came, Matt had his short-haired chubs out there. And I was thinking, well, I don't know if he's going to, he's going to go after it, because we went out there specifically for ducks.
Oh, yeah.
And Matt didn't do a lot of water work or anything with him, but Chubbs was a lot older dog, picked up enough birds, saw a bird go into the muck in the water and just
went and did it. Yeah.
But you don't want to take that chance.
No, yeah.
So when they're puppies, what do we want to do?
We want to try and get them in the water.
We want to see them swim.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's probably a lot of ways to get a puppy to swim, but I think what we did was pretty safe.
Yeah, very safe. Yeah.
And it was a slow process.
Yep.
Which you probably weren't as grateful as I was, because I was looking for filming content.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'd send you pictures during the week of him by the water. You're like, I swear to God, if that dog swam today, I'm going to kick your ass. No, he didn't swim. I know. I was like, Trent, tell me he didn't swim. Nope, he didn't swim. Good. I'm coming Saturday with the camera. Yeah.
But it just shows you that with some time and some effort, because you mentioned on the video that we shot, at the test you took him to, there was 3 dogs?
Yeah, there was at least 3 dogs that didn't go in.
Just didn't go in.
And then they had to sit back and wait for everybody else to go, and then they came back up to the water with the bird. And I think 2 out of the 3 might have went in after the bird, and there was 1 that just would not go in even after the bird.
Right. You don't remember? Not its breed specific. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was an English pointer.
And people, it makes me smile.
Those people that morning also told me they forgot to brush his teeth.
Oh, okay. So there might have been a little of that.
Yeah.
It's like, and we forgot to bring his blankie.
Yeah. Oh, and we need to borrow an orange hat. And what's a chucker?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it was one of those.
So they must have had a breeder that was encouraging them to get the, I'm assuming.
Probably.
Because that's one thing I see, too. And I did it when I bred dogs. You know, I didn't put it in a contract. Mm-hmm. But I did tell them, you know, I did a restricted breeding registration that if you want to breed the dog you bought for me, then you need to do these minimal things. And one would be some version of I even told them an AKC test. You know, I want to know that the dog can hunt a little bit.
Yeah, do something, yeah.
And water, to me, and probably by the time they're, I don't know what age it is, it's not an issue with a lot of dogs. But if you start them young, like you would want to put a dog out that was 3 that, you know, he was maybe one of those phenom dogs like, oh, yeah, I'll go out in the water, I'll swim. Mm-hmm. But then that dog gets into lily pads or seaweed.
Yeah, touches the seaweed in his feet.
Have you gotten into that with Whiskey since?
Oh, he's a swimming fool. Nothing bothers him. He's insane.
Lily pads.
Yeah,
they're attached at the bottom. They're like running through shackles.
Yep.
Right?
And you know me, I got a picture just from a couple weeks ago. He came up out of the water, and he's draped in seaweed all the way around him. Like he just won, like, the horse race, and they draped that shit around the horse. Like, he's literally draped in seaweed and lily pads and shit. So, yeah, he is a swimming fool now, and he probably would have been, even if we didn't start this young and do everything I wanted to.
But you can't tell.
Yeah.
You don't know.
But I wanted to make sure he was going to do it because that was the reason I got him.
Your expectations were like, look, I duck hunt a lot, and he might very well be a little better suited with his coat or whatever than Kip, your older dog.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, you know, one of your biggest. Did you look at any other breeds when you were before getting Whiskey?
Yeah, I went through them all, and you know, you look at the Drotts and the German wire hairs, and they're all. They can all do it. You know, something like the Pudelpointer kind of stuck out to me just a little bit closer working, and they're from Minnesota, the North Woods. They grouse, woodcock hunt like crazy.
Yeah.
So they're they hunted the right stuff. They had their dogs, you know, hunting the right stuff that I hunt, and they all duck hunt as well. And I don't know. I kind of like trying new things too. So
you went Pudelpointer.
Pudelpointer.
And now, as Justin said last week on the podcast, the beards are the most predominant dog he's training this year.
Yeah.
Between a lot of Griffins, Pudelpointers, and...
it was Griff's first, and then he said it switched to the Pudelpointers.
Right.
Which I can see a little bit more of, especially when we were at Pheasant Fest this past, you know, late winter, whatever.
Yeah.
Of course, we were in Minnesota, where I think... You know, they're probably a predominant northern
There's a good batch of
dog.
them out there.
Yeah. And literally everybody, I got a Pudelpointer. Is that a Pudelpointer? But then the year before, we were in, where were we the year before? Omaha. Yeah. I seen one Pudelpointer and one person that knew what a Pudelpointer was. And that was it.
Really?
And then up in Minnesota, it was literally everybody.
So it's like a Northwoods, upper northern Midwest.
According to my 2 Pheasant Fests.
Well, that's good enough. Hey, it's enough to be on this podcast with data.
2 data points. It seems like there's a lot of them in Minnesota.
I did notice you were busy all day at Pheasant Fest and you
I had him there next to me. Yeah.
Was his demeanor, because like his demeanor at the show is real good.
Yep.
Was he always like that, or did he get like better during the show?
No, he's usually pretty calm and collective. Like next to me, he whines a little, a little mouthy, a little whiny a little bit, but he's not like biting at the leash or like tugging or like rolling on the ground, or he's on
top of that. But he's also not jumping at people either.
No.
But I mean, did you work on that, or is that just part of his
just
demeanor?
part of him.
Yeah, he's just not a squirrely. He's not squirrely.
Not really. Yeah. And to be honest, he could care less if anybody petted him ever, including Heather and I. He just doesn't care if he gets petted.
He doesn't come up and just bug you
beg
at home.
for attention. now a little bit as he's getting a little older, because he has changed since a puppy. Like Heather, like when he was a puppy, Heather said like, he's not like my favorite dog, because like if you go to like pet him, he just dodges you, and then he'd just go and like sleep on his own bed or do his own thing or be over in his kennel by himself. Like he didn't really care.
When you're dog parents, you're like,
yeah. And Kip is like, he doesn't even know what the floor is. He only sits in Heather's lap. Yeah. So she's like, he's not my favorite dog, but he's become more like, affectionate, I guess. But no, he doesn't care if he gets.
He's not like.
No, he doesn't beg for attention for any other people. Not really.
But then what's funny is I've seen dogs at Pheasant Fest and other shows where they. Well, I mean, the dogs that people bring to the shows are usually gregarious and
good.
But
crowd
I've seen
dogs.
dogs that come to, like, let's say, and this was in the Bronco world when I went to some of the gatherings. I saw a lot of them that like literally hid behind their owner's legs.
Too much stuff going on.
So he doesn't have a problem with all the people.
No.
He just doesn't need to be their best friend.
Yeah, he doesn't need to have affection towards him. No,
he doesn't. Did he have any issues with the judges looking at his mouth or anything like that?
Nope. And obviously, I know Justin, and I know how he was. So when I got Kip, I didn't know everything like I did with Whiskey, and I brought Kip to Justin when he was over a year old. And
now Kip's the one. You're short hair.
Short hair, yeah. So now with Whiskey, when I started, I did like the calming touch, and I did like picked up his ears and looked in his mouth, picked up his paws and stuff, and that goes a long ways. All that little stuff like that, including like steadying him up and making him calm and collective and standing in one spot, and even
all that impulse control.
Going to the whoa, like I would like stack him on a platform, say, whoa, hold up his head, hold up his tail, and I could back away from it, and he just stands like a statue.
Right.
And then when that went out to outside to the whoa post was like, I'm done with this. It was like a couple times, you know what I mean? He just
because you did that preliminary work.
And then, looking in his mouth and stuff. So no, at the test, they look in his mouth just fine. And he's really good with that. I mean, his sores, his cuts, his, thorns and all that stuff, he lets you do whatever you want to him. And that's probably in his breeding, and in his bloodline. It's got
to be in his demeanor, I would think. But that's another one of those things you'll never know because you did it.
Yep.
Like the experiment would be.
You can't just erase it and go back.
Right. Yeah. The experiment would be to have a multiple universe where Trent and Heather raised him without doing that.
Yeah.
That's the only way you'd know.
Yep. Yeah.
But I can't believe that. Like I know every dog benefits from that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Mike Mapes from Second Chance Bird Dogs.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you that the dogs he's getting back, I call it the 1-year-old rescue.
It's
always
COVID
about
dogs.
a year when the people can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
They bought the bird dog, and all of a sudden this bird dog became a teenager. Mm-hmm. And they didn't tell it what to do from the day they got it home till then they started trying at 6 or 8 or 10 months old.
Yeah, and the dog's like, who are you?
Like, who are you?
Yeah, I'm the boss.
I've been eating enough to count and sleeping on the bed. I am the boss.
Yeah,
Yep. And I'll bet you that half of and this is, a bullshit statement coming from my mouth because I have no data, but I would wager, again, there's no way to tell, but that half of those dogs that come back to him, he places those dogs in hunting homes, and I don't think, other than I think maybe one with an aggression problem had to come back again. He's doing some work with them at a year of age, getting them ready for people to take them. Like he's hitting a reset button with them.
He's doing the calming touch stuff at a year old,
or the equivalent of or whatever he does.
Yeah.
Because he's taking these dogs that other people said, like, it's too much dog for me. Mm-hmm. And then he works with it, and he puts it in a new home, and people are like, oh, it's a great dog.
It's a great dog. I met a guy at the liquor store in Ludington who has one of his dogs, and he's like, this is the best thing that ever happened to me.
Really?
Yeah. He's seen my hat and the stickers and the gunner kennels and stuff in the truck, and he asked me what kind of dogs I had and blah, blah, blah. And long story short, he got a dog from Second Chance Bird Dogs.
Good. Yeah. When you got your oldest short hair, that was the one you just got on the side of the road, basically.
Yeah.
Did you try doing anything with him?
No, because I was 21.
You just wanted a German short hair?
Yeah, well, I thought I was going to do more, and of course, you can go into any bar at that point, and the dog goes to the wayside.
And now he's still around.
Yeah, he's around, and he's a good house pet. And obviously, I did the things at home to like trim his nails and look in his mouth, and he lets me do all that sort of stuff. But he never transpired into a full blown.
But you don't know his background, right? Did you?
No,
no idea.
Probably just some mutts.
What kind of research did you do when you got Kip?
A little more.
Kip is 5?
Kip's 5, yeah.
5, yeah.
Yeah, just a touch more. I knew some guys that I had worked with. He grouse hunts and stuff around us. Not a lot, not heavy, but he was happy with his dog, and he told me where he had gotten it. And, of course, you go on their website, and, they do this and that. And they were more kind of preserved dogs. Like, they did a lot of, like, wounded warrior, veteran hunts and stuff.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and
that's a lot of people can only do that.
Mm-hmm. And they got like 100 acres there that they let their dogs run on, and they train on them, with them there. So he come from an okay line,
He came from dogs that pointed birds.
Yeah, that hunted, and he's hunting full. He hunts just fine. He killed a rabbit in the yard this morning.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah.
But I mean, you banned woodcock with him.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's as steady as a rock.
And I would be like, from my point of view, when I go back to like, I'm discounting. What was your old short hair's name? I never remember. Duke. I always know it's something with John Wayne.
What's your freaking kennel?
I know, Dancing Duke Kennels. So Duke aside, Kip was your first dog.
Yeah, and I really tried.
In a short amount of time, you got him to be where he was allowed to woodcock ban.
Yeah, he was 3.
There's not a lot of dogs that. Well, not a lot of dogs to try it, but there's a lot of criteria to become a woodcock bander. Your dog's got to have you can't risk the woodcock chicks.
No. I mean, they take a step or they break one too many times, even once at all.
Right.
And Dave, my mentor, is a stickler. Like, he just does. I mean, you take steps, you take like 6-inch steps and shuffle. They call it the woodcock shuffle.
And the dog doesn't know that, so he's got to be steady.
He's got to stay, yeah. And he's had a couple of people try to mentor under him, and he's told me he's turned away at least 5 different people that he's like, I'm not happy where your dog's at. You don't do the work, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to sign off on your stuff.
And how long did it take you and Dave to figure out, like, your first time woodcock banding with Kip? Did you keep him on a lead the whole time, or did you keep him on a check
No,
card?
at the time that I wanted to do woodcock banding, I had already had him steadied up and
okay. So you had him field steady.
Yeah, with pigeons and chucker and everything, and he was pretty much there.
Right.
And he had the demeanor. He's a real patient, relaxed dog.
He is.
Yeah.
He kind of reminds me of Chubbs, but he's kind of like that. He's calm.
Yeah, he's very calm.
Yeah,
so he didn't take much at all to get steadied up, and he listened. You teach him a few things, and he picks it up fairly quick. And so it wasn't I wasn't worried about him being steady enough to ban woodcock. And of course, we go out in the spring, and I would. Every single time a bird goes up or I see a bird, he's always woed and never allowed to chase. So from the get, I knew he was going to be okay.
Yeah. Now, when we hunted, see, I look at my mind. We filmed a little bit of it this year or last year when we were out in North Dakota. You don't hold him to steady when you're sharptail hunting, right?
Steady to flush, not to shot.
But you could get that back if you. Or did you just always have a really good steady to flush?
Yeah, steady to flush. He does not leave unless we shoot.
Okay.
Ever.
And then with woodcock banding, there's no shooting.
There's no shooting.
He's like
just stays.
Bam. He's
Yeah.
Yeah, I always wondered about that because you're right. If
there's no shot, he ain't going nowhere.
You're not firing the gun to let somebody you found a woodcock.
No.
So
yeah, it's not. He's never regressed in any fashion. It's just bird goes up, it's a bird going up. He just doesn't leave until there's a shot fired. And hunting wise, I don't really see needing to go any farther than that.
Well, if you're not going to stay on the hunt test world, I got to do this next year and I got to do that. It's like, as long as he'll always let you produce the bird
and let it fly away. And if it's a low-flying bird, he's not jumping at it, biting at it, and potentially you could shoot your dog.
Jerry Bazell shot Queenie.
There you go.
But in fact, we had her X-rayed before she died because we thought it might be something else, and there was 2 BBs right down her tenderloins on both sides of her back. And the day I remember the shot,
you were there.
It was Hey, let me hit pause. So yes, actually, I was there. To go back to my story, we had to get it. I thought Trent asked me if I needed a beer, and he asked me, "Were you there when Jerry shot my dog?"
And you did need a beer.
And I did happen to need a beer. So we're out in South Dakota. I'm going to guess that like wild pheasants they won't always rise up high. They'll kind of just scream across the
tops of the grass.
Right. Yeah. They don't. I mean, I've always said you can tell when you've got birds that are liberated versus wild. A wild pheasant's never going to just scream up to the clouds and then level out. It will on the topography sometimes start low, but by the time you shoot it, it's way up there. But it's just the topography of the ground.
Yeah.
But this was a low. I think this bird was maybe injured. This bird was, literally scraping the CRP grass with his belly feathers. And I yelled out, Jerry. And Jerry shot like Matt Dillon,
fast.
That gun came up, boom. For that fat old man to pull a gun up that quick, I'll never understood how he did it. He was good. And he shot, and Queenie was also staunch enough to, I wouldn't say she let a bird fly away, but I think she could almost hear the trigger pulling. Right.
So she was probably anticipating.
Right.
Because she hunted with him enough.
I wouldn't say she was stayed, because if a hen came up, I would lose her, but with no shots, she would just get right back to hunting. Anyway, he pulled the trigger, and it looked like she tripped over a cable. The minute that shotgun went off, she took like 2 forward somersaults, got up, and still kept going after that bird. I said, "You shot her." He goes, "I did not." I said, "You did too." And we looked at her, and there's a couple specks of blood on her. She seemed to be okay, but years later, when she was X-rayed, we're like, "Yeah, there's 2 BBs in her back."
No shit. So yeah, that's important. The steadiness stuff, and it all goes back to what you're trying to do and how far you want to go. But yeah, the water is a different terrain out there that they're going to encounter. Yeah. And then the steadiness stuff, for safety reasons alone, is a good reason to go at least that far.
Oh yeah, I think if you have a dog that's going to chase every sharp tail or bird that's out of range, you got work to do.
Wasting time calling them back as well. If
who knows what other covey? That one spot we hunted where there could be another covey 100 yards away.
Yeah, they're going to blow it up,
and they have no idea there's a bird. They're chasing something.
They're not smelling.
There's not a lot of analogies to that in water work, but let's just say when we were out in North Dakota, we were earlier. We're too early for a duck license, but to go out there. And knowing, if you got your duck license, if you were there at the right time of year, and to have a dog that wouldn't go out and, to me, it'd almost be embarrassing.
Yeah.
I mean, if your dog would not go out into the water and get a bird, I've never owned one.
No, I haven't either. That. And if you have multiple dogs, 3, 4, 5 dogs or whatever, and you have one dog that doesn't swim, that's fine. But
if you got one dog,
I always need one dog that is going to go in the water, that is going to duck hunt for me. And that was him.
And when we did that series, we have a lot of emphasis on your test. You were getting ready for a puppy test, and we talk about scores, we talk about the test day, but what I want people to take away from it, if not everybody listens to this show, is going to test their dog.
No, and that wasn't even close to my sole reason of getting him in the water.
Exactly.
That was coming up, and it had to be done at X amount of time.
You probably would have done that. You would have done some form of this no matter what.
Yes.
And if you've got a bird dog that finds the water barrier. Again, I'm going to go back. I'm like pre-apologizing. We'll never know. We might have took him out at 12 months of age. He might have just
jumped right in,
charged out there. We don't know. But why would you take that chance?
Yep.
Especially that time of year, you can't go out and get them on woodcock and grouse. The woods are closed, basically. Public land's closed.
Yep.
Why not work on that water stuff and then work on the retrieves in the water stuff and the amount of exercise you can get?
Yeah, there's a lot of positives of getting a dog in the water, and even if you're not going to duck hunt, like you said, a pheasant can go in the water, shoot. I mean, quail. There's always water around somewhere that dog potentially should need to go in, or you're swimming.
And you can also pinpoint. Like I've never done it in South Dakota because you have to apply for your waterfowl license in South Dakota. But I hunted there, I don't know, probably 20-some times in my life. And all the ducks I've seen, I mean, there I would have had the dog that could do it, but I didn't get the license because you had to apply for it. But when you go somewhere where both are open, if you got a new dog, it's like you're doing a disservice by not preparing them to go in the water.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely, to me, laughable that you'd have a bird dog. Now, I hope Justin doesn't ever listen to this show, does he? Because I don't know if his dogs swim.
He doesn't care.
Well, he doesn't care.
I know.
That's dry land Montana and dry land Arizona.
Yeah, and like I said, if that's what you want to do, is fine. But if you have multiple dogs, I would at least have one that's going to go out and get a dog that you can at least go back to the truck and get. That's going to go get that pheasant that's out in the middle of a pothole.
Right.
That you want. Your limit is in Minnesota is 2 per person.
Yeah.
So there's one bird out in the middle of that lake, and if you're, being a conservationist and you're going to count that bird against your limit, you want that.
Yeah.
So if you have 0 ways of going and getting that,
then you're out there kind of. You might as well go out there and not know how to shoot a shotgun.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, well, I'm not going to practice with my shotgun, and I'm not going to have my dog ready to do it. I've hunted in Iowa enough times. It's real, especially on private land in Iowa. You hunt a lot of. They call them waterways. I call them ditches, and they're irrigation. They're man-made, and they're big and they're deep. And I remember being with a guy that and of course, when the crops are down, the birds are on the edges of those irrigation ditches where the grass is still tall.
Yeah.
And he knocked a rooster down. I wasn't out there with my dog. He knocked a rooster down. We saw it just literally hit the bank on the other side, right by where the field was mowed or the field was harvested. And this bird is stone dead. And he could not get his dog
to go across that
to go across it. And we're only talking an 8-foot wide ditch.
Yeah.
But because he never
did anything. It's a wall. It might as well be.
And do you know how many minutes it took us for him to walk to the next
section where
he could cross over and walk back there? It's just like I don't understand why anybody wouldn't.
I mean, you can run into that same scenario here, rough grouse hunting. Across plenty of creeks and rivers and stuff.
That's a good point. If you hunt along the Pere Marquette or Del Sable.
I mean, rough grouse are a lot, lower land.
Yeah.
And, birds that are around creeks and rivers and ponds and stuff. I mean, we cross creeks and rivers all the time.
Yeah. My favorite spot's Cedar Creek right here by my house. And I'm not saying I've had several birds on the other side of the creek, but I've had 2 that I can remember. And, my dog just went through the creek, swam across 6-8 feet, popped back up on the other side. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go over my boots. I would have to walk all the way back to the truck and go around the other side of the water.
I mean, but even if it wasn't over their heads, it's still water and it's still flowing, and it could look like a wall to them.
Right.
Even if they're not going to swim across it, it's still water, and it's still wide enough and flowing that they're like, I don't think I'm going to go across that, even if it's only 4 inches, 6 inches deep.
Yeah. And if you only got an hour and a half to hunt, you're going to waste 30 minutes trying to go get a bird.
Yeah.
And you don't even know if it's dead
or
sometimes.
Just continuing your hunt across that creek.
Yeah.
Yeah. That you can't, that it's just
Yeah, I just think it's definitely test-oriented, but getting your dog acclimated to that terrain, I think also gives them some confidence.
Yeah. Yep, that they can go through different barriers, and it's of course a confidence booster.
Yeah,
You know, they're looking at different terrains and different depths and flowing or not flowing, and it's for sure a confidence booster that'll go a long ways for not just water but everything else.
There's dogs I've hunted with that stay out of thick cover.
Yeah, it looks like a wall to them.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'll just go around it. Well, there might be a bird in there, and I've seen dogs avoid thick cover, like thick grouse cover. I've seen other dogs that it doesn't matter.
No.
Their nose is taking them through that cover. And is that because they train them to swim early? No, probably it's the dog's desire. But if you don't work with them when they're pups, why wouldn't they? They could learn to refuse something. It's not out of the question that they could go like, well, there's something to hunt over here.
Yeah.
I want my dog to go in front of me no matter where I am, and if water's in front of me,
they got to go through it.
They got to go through it.
Yeah.
You know, and God forbid I shoot a bird and it goes on the other side of the water, and if I have to go over my boots in it, that's
not going to be happy.
That's not going to be happy. I took Zara out. She's a goofball. I took her out to Bazell's Pond out here. And threw a bumper for it. She goes hard charging, right in for it. Swims till she gets the bumper in her mouth, and then comes back and doesn't use her back legs. So I'm like, well, am I going to put Swimmy on her waist? Or just say, like, okay, she might be the one dog. But at least she'll go
in it, yeah.
But it's hysterical. She's got that bumper in her mouth, and
she's like a bobber.
She is vertical, trying to come back.
Yep.
I don't know everything we filmed for Behind the Dog with Whiskey. It's probably not going to help that dog, but it would help with the go. You got to have the go.
Yeah. How much of that early stuff did you do with Zara?
Not a lot. And I think with her, if I probably went out in the water with her and kind of held her waist up and her back legs started moving.
That's a Sobraco thing.
Her back legs work when she's going out.
She just kind of forgets
the bumper
about them.
and she starts to sink. And she just dog paddles with her legs back.
Bravo, did he swim?
Oh, he was a swimming fool.
So did you do all the early stuff with Bravo?
No, I got lucky. When Bravo flew in from Hungary to Frankfurt, Germany to DC, and a girl I know that had Bracos picked them up for me. I think, I want to say it was in the wintertime. It was January. Yeah, it was January. And when I was living in Virginia a lot, over half the year. And I was going duck hunting on Eastern Shore with my buddy Chip. And so when I got the flight arrangements, like, shit, we got a duck hunting trip. So I called up this girl I know, and Christine, and she goes, I'd love to pick him up as long as I can hang on to him for a couple days and show him to everybody. Yeah. She had Bracos, And I always remember this. She said when he came off that sky crate at the airport and she opened the kennel, he came out of there tail, because he had the undocked tail, tail wagging, just looked like he was raised in the kennel. He was just a pup. And that's probably just good breeding, good desire in the dogs with, no none of the fussy budget stuff, like, I don't like. Because you think, no matter how much they crate trained him in Hungary, he wasn't crate trained to go over the ocean.
That's a long time. It's a lot of noise, dark,
he
whatever.
He came out of there like I always say, like he was, like it wasn't his first time coming in the end zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so he was confident from the get.
Very confident dog. And that same year, my neighbor Jerry, he spends a winter in Florida on the St. John's River. And I was going down to see Jerry and Barb. And I had Bravo with me, and I had one other dog. Can't remember who it was. I think it was Katie, maybe. And I told Jerry, I said, I want to get, I was trying to get her ready for her water test. So we wanted to go to the river. It's early. The gators aren't out in the river. They're on the back bayous, but they're not in the river. And so we went to this boat launch, and I'm throwing a bumper for her. And she was a pretty good water dog. As far as
Katie, was she a Braco too?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And I'm saying Katie, but it wasn't Katie. I just can't remember the dog's name. But I wanted to work a few bumpers with her. And Jerry was holding Bravo back. Now, he just got there. He just landed probably a week ago. Mm-hmm. Never probably saw water in his life. I doubt it, because in Hungary they got the same latitude, longitude as we are. It was wintertime.
Yep.
And Jerry went to light a cigarette and let go of the dog, of course. And I'm throwing the bumper for the other dog, and this little pup Bravo just goes right past her into the water and swam like an otter and picked up that bumper and brought it back. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was.
That's one of those where you're not going to have to do a lot.
Right.
But the next time you go to do that at a different place, or he's not as excited, there's not another dog.
Right.
Whatever it is, you could go and try it again. Oh, he just swam 2 days ago. You could go do that, and he's not going to go in.
Right.
Which that happened to us.
This was a boat ramp. Mm-hmm. It just happened to be a boat ramp, so it was an even bottom for him. And it might have just been his makeup. I might have got lucky. I obviously got lucky because he didn't have a problem. But I feel, I don't know what the number is, but I'll bet you about half of them need some coaxing.
Yeah.
They don't all just go in.
Splash in.
They just don't go in. In fact, the ones I find that do, usually, it wasn't the case with Bravo, the ones that do hit the water like they were born in it are usually a little less cooperative and a little higher desire. Mm-hmm. They're just like, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care what it is.
I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
You threw something. You threw your hat. You threw a bumper.
I can see that.
And I think sometimes that's what it is. But and this is not a breed thing, but it's obvious when you talk about all the different breeds, the versatile breeds. If you pull away the wires and draughts and the short hairs, you got a lot of basically somewhat new breeds to this stuff.
Yeah.
The Griffins, the Pudelpointers, the Weimaraners are older breed, but not big in the testing. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of them that's not the normal.
Right.
What you and Whiskey went through was more than normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was progressing just fine throughout the whole entire thing, but like I said, there was a time where we went out just right here, and you're like, all right, let's go get another, some more footage of him swimming.
In a new sight picture.
Trying in a new sight picture, yeah. And, like I said in the video, I just watched it yesterday, and I said I was 80% sure, which I'm sure I was. Like, he was already swimming just fine.
Right.
And he would not. And I got frustrated there, and you're like, okay, that's enough, and like you shut me down because I wanted to keep going.
Right,
you
wanted to like
the damn dog swims. I know he can.
Because while we're filming this, you had successes along the way, and that was one of the points where you had successes, and I said, let's take him to my pond, and we really were just doing it to emphasize
different bodies of water,
especially if you're getting ready for a test. But I strongly suggest people, if you're getting ready for hunting season, why not have a dog that can swim and exercise them on a hot day like that? I didn't go to the grounds tonight because it's 86 degrees right now.
And muggy.
But I can take him over to a pond and let him swim and get some exercise.
Yep.
So the importance of the water has got a lot of folds to it. But, God, I lost my train of thought. We're talking about when...
Like seeing a different body of water.
When that is what somebody's... Even if you're not getting ready for the test... And you've got, he swims in a pond in our backyard all the time, or swims in my neighbor's, creek or whatever.
And it's the same place over and over and over.
Go somewhere else, and then you find out.
Yeah, it's not always true.
It's not always true. And like when we filmed him in my backyard pond, he was like that day. He regressed to what he was probably 5-6 weeks. Actually. He went maybe because that boat launch was with Taffy was so shallow.
Gradual.
He did go out there further.
Yep.
But then that day when you had already seen him swim several times in several places.
Yeah. For some reason.
He was only getting up to his knee joint. He didn't even get up to his chest, but the angle was steeper.
Very steep,
on that pond.
Yeah.
And dogs can be like, I don't know.
And it's weird because, I mean, that thing's not big. Like,
Yeah,
you can see across
pond.
it. It's, you know.
Shoot, I could swim across it, and I can't swim.
Easy, yeah. Yeah, so that was a time where I was like, what in the heck is going on?
What happened to my dog?
So I immediately left here and went up to my place where he goes a lot, up by me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and threw him right, and he went right in, swam just fine. So I'm like, okay,
It's
well.
one of the other spots that he's been swimming.
Yeah, like just down the road from my house, which is that is on the video as well, where that's where I was doing majority of the work because it's close, convenient. I can get right there right after work. And he went right in just fine. But it was just seeing that little pond there for who knows what reason.
Right.
He didn't want to go in.
And it wasn't like I brought any of my dogs out.
No,
my dogs in the kennel were barking.
No.
And
Nobody
Chip
knows.
was there.
Yeah, we eventually got him out to try and coax him in.
To see if it would work.
But he didn't even go in then either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember, I mean, it was a short period of time. It was like maybe, that week, like I stressed myself about it. I'm like, what in the heck, what's going on? And eventually they just, nobody knows what it is. It just was a little roadblock and just keep going.
I look at it like kids, like there was days when I didn't want to do a homework assignment. And then there was some other times I'm like, yeah, I better do the homework assignment.
Yeah.
But to that point of, if you do have your dog swimming good in your backyard pond or your neighbor's pond or wherever you're going or Lake Michigan, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because it does make a difference.
Yeah, it does.
And again, hunting or hunt testing, proof that thing to where you're like, and this is because we like to drink beer and act like silly people sometimes. Mm-hmm. Let's say we go somewhere and I'm like, all right, let's see whose dog can get out to that bumper faster. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be the guy that's dog swims good at home, and you bring him out there.
Well, I swear he swims good. I know he swims good. We just got to go back home. Well, no, he should go everywhere.
Right. Yeah, they really should, and I think it's important for the dog. I use the word terrain because water is a terrain. Mm-hmm. It just happens to be water.
Right.
That confidence to do that job in the water. It just feels good.
Yeah.
Like when you can just whip a bumper out into the lake and you're out there drinking a beer and the dog's out there just giving it its all.
Yep. Oh, yeah. He swims just as hard after a bumper. Like he literally gets up on plane. He swims so hard after a bumper. It's just like it's a duck. And yeah, it's satisfying to watch him swim that hard.
It is. Yeah. We used to take our dogs down to Lake Michigan we'd go to Duck Lake, and then we'd go south there a little bit.
Yep.
Supposed to have them on a leash, but sometimes we didn't.
Yeah.
And I just whipped the bumper out into the little rollers out there. Mm-hmm. And they try so hard. You're getting good exercise. Mm-hmm. You know that they love it. They absolutely love it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I mean, and then if you want a duck hunt, I mean, that's you got to show them different stuff.
If you want to duck hunt one day a year, I've had Bravo go with me to. I've been invited. Matt Zoll.
Yes.
When he found this wood duck spot up by Hesperia, he literally called me up. He says, "Can you come out with Bravo? I got a great spot, but I don't have his dog
wouldn't.
His dog, and that was a muck. Like when the dog stepped into the water." They went up to their elbows in black mud.
And it made like a suction noise
on
the way back out.
You see the dogs when they come out and they're black, like they were in tar.
Yep.
And if we did not, put it this way, we would have either had to bring a kayak or leave the duck sit out there until a wind blew it to the shore. Because you've seen some of them boggy muck that if you even had waders on, you'd go down to your crotch.
And you'd be stuck. Or you'd lose your boot in the bottom.
You're going to lose your boot. You literally can't get 15 feet into the water.
But it's a damn good wood duck hole, and you want to kill ducks in it.
It's a good wood duck hole. It's nothing but a little pond. This pond isn't any bigger than, let's say, 4 of these kennel buildings in an oval.
Yep.
That's not big. You can hit a duck on
and if
just
it comes
about
in
every
there,
corner of it.
Yeah, you can shoot at it.
But you can't get in there in waders
and get
even.
it. Yeah.
And Bravo would just go out there and pick it up and bring it back.
Yeah.
Get half stuck in the mud coming out.
And honestly, watching my dogs retrieve ducks is
I think it's.
I would say it's more satisfying than any land retrieve ever. Like this last winter, which the video you'll see at the end of the little clip at the end of the video.
Oh,
Yeah, where he's bringing that duck back to me.
Yeah.
That was so one of the reasons I needed a dog that swam and duck on it, because I walk in a lot of walk-in spots to public waters.
Yeah.
I don't have a boat. I got 3 buddies that do, but there's always days where everybody's busy or doing something else, and I'm just gonna go walk in and hunt for a couple hours, and that was one of those mornings, and it was a pretty quick paced moving river, and I knew the spot I wanted to go to, and I knew I wanted to shoot my ducks close because I wanted them to fall in the river and make a splash, because whiskey still was new at hunting.
You want to give them a sight.
I didn't have them
blind retrieve
trained. Yeah. I didn't have them force fetched, anything at this time. So he needed to see the ducks fall in the water.
Yeah.
And I had put a couple in the water, and he did fine. Went right out there into the middle of the river and grabbed them. Well, a couple ducks worked in, shot one on the way out, and he landed literally like 2 foot on the bank on the other side. Oof. River's too deep, too fast for me to go over there and get it.
You're not going to get there yourself.
And I'm like, oh boy, yeah, this is not good. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get that
Did
duck.
Whiskey see it go down?
Yes. So I'm like, okay, Whiskey. I had no way to send him as a direction. I just said, okay, let's go, okay. And he just hit the water and started swimming to the other bank. Well, the current took him down away from his mark.
Yeah.
So when he entered the bank, he was at least 40, 50 yards off his mark.
Wow.
And I could see him in the cattails. I could see the top of the cattails moving. And then he went past where the duck went, and he popped out on the north side of where the duck went. And he popped out and looked at me. I'm like, come on, over here. And
even though he doesn't know
no, nothing. I'm just trying to like get him in this.
Yeah.
And then I can see the cattails, and he goes back south of it, pops back out, looks at me again. I'm like, no, over here. And then finally I see the cattails moving, and then I see the cattails moving in like the area where I know this duck is at. I'm like, oh, come on, buddy. And all of a sudden, poof, he pops out of them cattails with a big old green bean in his head, in his mouth. And I'm like, yes. And he hopped right back in that river and swam right back across to me and dropped it at my feet.
You're right. That kind of retrieve.
I mean, I shot 2 or 3 ducks that day, but I was like on cloud freaking 9.
So I forget who told me this story, but like when you're my age, let's say you're in I'm not in the hospital yet. Like if your family are like, you think we should put Trent down? You think he's beyond help?
And I still know that story.
And you still know that story?
Yeah.
Like, no, he's not ready to go.
Yeah.
Because you'll never forget that.
No, I won't. And one more little wrinkle to that, about 10 minutes before I shot that duck, DNR come over and checked me. And I know the guy, whatever, he's talking to me, blah, blah, blah.
Run into him before.
Yeah, he's like, any more duck hunters down here? I'm like, yep, they're down there. He's like, oh, and they start shooting. He's like, okay, I'm going to go check them. Uh-huh. So he went by, and he was downriver checking those guys when these ducks came in and worked, and I shot. I'm like, shit, am I going to have to ask him for a ride across this river to go get my duck? So when he come back up, Whiskey had already done that, went and got the duck and come back to me, and I waved him down. I'm like, hey, Elijah or whatever, come back over here. I'm like, hey, you'll never guess what. I'm like, this little puppy right here just swam across, found that duck, and he was like, he's a big duck hunter as well. He hunts the same exact stuff as I do. He's got labs, so they're retrieving fools, but he's happier than hell for me. He's like, oh, that's awesome, and I mean, shot 2 or 3 ducks that day, but that was like seriously one of the
you'll never forget it.
It was great.
I like you said, when we upland hunt, there's an occasional difficult retrieve, and that would usually only be on a wild pheasant, because if they do get wounded,
they're gone.
And that goes into the tracking part of it. Like the part that you had a dog that was in the beginning not showing a bold desire in water, and then
I stood there one day with my hands on my head going, did I seriously just buy a dog that doesn't like water? And there was one time that I wanted to record myself because I wanted to see what I'm doing. Like, am I doing something stupid or what am I doing? And I remember watching that back, looking at myself, standing with my hands on my head, like, what the hell is going on? But now it's like I can't get him out of the water. He will literally swim until he's blue in the face and just can't go anymore.
And we'll never know how much help he needed.
Yep.
But the fact that you did it, and I would say you weren't in a hurry. You got a full-time job, but it probably took, because our first time was cold weather, it probably took 3 months before you had that, like,
he's going
got
in.
it.
Yeah.
And I can't encourage people enough. Like, if you've got that dog, even if you're not doing a hunt test, and especially this time of year, get them dogs in the water and work. In fact, pretend that you had a test to go to,
right?
Even if you don't,
and
say,
work at it.
I want a duck dog, even if you don't duck hunt.
Need a duck dog,
because that one thing could come up like that, and when your dog gets it. It's just a shame there wasn't 3 guys there with you to witness it.
Yeah, I know.
Because they'd be like, please, Trent.
Calm down.
Calm down.
But you've
told us a story 73 times. It only gets better.
Yeah,
That's
it probably gets embellished a little bit every time. But no, seriously, he really did. He did do everything.
And that was a young dog.
Yeah, it was his first year duck hunting. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I mean, it makes it a little bit better. I mean, it's just him and I. I mean, it was cold, and we had snow in the morning, and it was cold water and everything. And like you
just
said,
did it.
Who knows if it was what we did, or who knows if it was in the breeding? But if I didn't do it, it could be a lot worse.
If you didn't do it and expected that on hunting season,
you can't expect that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why take that chance? It's a perfect time of year to train the dog to get in the water. And if it takes a little extra time, the proof's in the pudding.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks for coming over, Trent. Well, let's have another beer.
Yeah, we'll do.
All right.